Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Dennis Schröder was a good signing made by the Warriors, but the player has not had good performances and is lacking a fit with the team. Dennis Schröder has value in the NBA and will likely be traded so the Warriors can sign another player. Warriors are interested in Brandon Ingram and could involve Dennis Schröder and other players in a big deal between three teams. Like the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors are searching for a superstar to elevate their roster. The Warriors could land a former Lakers superstar forward in a massive four-team trade. At 20-20 overall and sitting outside the play-in, the Golden State Warriors have a real chance to miss the playoffs this season unless they do something at the trade deadline, Bleacher Report's Greg Swartz wrote Monday. Stephen Curry has stated that he doesn't want to see the Warriors make any desperate trades that would deplete the future, but what if a 27-year-old, former All-Star forward who's averaging over 22 points per game this season could be had at a reasonable price? Brandon Ingram is putting up 22.2 points, 5.6 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and shooting 37.4% from three this season for the New Orleans Pelicans, who should be motivated to move the 6'8" forward before he becomes an unrestricted free agent this summer. This is a chance for the Warriors to nab a potential star without having to give up Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, or any other prospect or draft pick, as they'd only be sending out Kyle Anderson and the expiring contracts of Kevin Looney, Gary Payton II, and Dennis Schröder instead. The trade for Schröder hasn't worked out for the Warriors, who are 12.1 points per 100 possessions worse when the veteran point guard is on the floor, 7th percentile via cleaning the glass. A core of Curry, Ingram, Draymond Green, Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, Podziemski, Buddy Hield and others would be far better than the current roster and give the Warriors a greater chance to reach the West playoffs. In Swartz's massive trade proposal, the San Antonio Spurs would receive Zach LaVine, the Warriors would receive Ingram, the Pelicans would receive Keldon Johnson and Zach Collins, and the Chicago Bulls would receive Schröder, Anderson, Looney, Payton II, and two 2025 second-round picks. While the Pelicans have played well lately, it's safe to say they're in line to miss the postseason. Still, Ingram has been a bright spot for the organization this year. In 18 contests, the 6'8" forward, who plays with impressive pace, is on track to finish with a 20-plus points per game scoring average for the sixth consecutive season. Unfortunately, Ingram has been sidelined by an ankle injury since early December, which could concern a Warriors squad that needs all hands on deck. Still, with Schröder disappointing the franchise through 16 games and the Warriors possessing a mediocre roster, Swartz's bold four-team trade could resonate with the organization. Warriors exploring trades, but not pushing it, with deadline looming. As the NBA trade deadline approaches, the Golden State Warriors are taking a measured approach to their roster, avoiding any panic moves while staying focused on improving the team for the stretch run. Despite their recent struggles, Warriors leaders, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and head coach Steve Kerr, have made it clear that they're not feeling pressured to make a trade unless it's the right move for both the present and the future. We're going to do everything we can to be as competitive as possible, to put the best team around Steph as possible without mortgaging the future, and that is the right decision, Kerr said, via Own Youngmisuk of ESPN. While the Warriors front office is still evaluating their options, Kerr emphasized that the goal is not to make a hasty move that could harm the franchise long-term. Instead, Golden State is looking at marginal improvements, small moves that can elevate the roster without sacrificing its future. With the February 6 deadline looming, the Warriors have been linked to a number of NBA veterans, including Chicago Bulls center Nikola Vucevic, who has reportedly been on their radar for weeks. Golden State could also explore options to get out of the luxury tax if they continue to slide in the standings. As Warriors general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. continues to assess the team's needs, all options remain on the table for the franchise in the coming weeks. For Curry, the most important factor is that the front office is actively trying to improve the team. "We're trying to be a realistic threat in a playoff series," Curry said. "If Mike calls and says, 'Hey, this is an opportunity to do X, Y, Z,' I give my opinion." Curry's commitment to winning is unwavering, but he's also realistic about the Warriors' situation. "My hope is that if there's no action at the deadline, it's not because of a lack of effort," he continued. "If we don't have a chance to get better, my whole thing is I want to win, and whatever that means, all efforts are pointed towards that, then I can kind of live with whatever happens." The Warriors' approach reflects a balance between urgency and patience. While they are clearly focused on maintaining their playoff contention window, they are also aware of the long-term implications of any potential trade. With just under 2 weeks to go before the deadline, Golden State's leadership remains confident that they will make the right call, whether that involves a trade or standing pat. Kevin Looney is stepping up for the Warriors amid trade talks. After almost being entirely cut out of the rotation earlier in the month, veteran center Kevin Looney has been one of the rare players to have recently stepped up in the midst of a series of Warrior injuries. In fact, against the Celtics on Monday, Looney often seemed to be the only Golden State player on the court performing his role. The Warriors shot an abysmal 14 of 53 from the three-point line, a downturn that brought them back to earth after the team has been in the top 5 in three-point percentage through the month of January. Stephen Curry shot only 33% from deep, with the rest of the team following suit in his struggles. Draymond Green's extended absence due to back pain, illness, and now a calf strain has exposed the thinness of the Warriors' defense, while he and Jonathan Kuminga's unavailability has limited their productivity on offense. Looney, meanwhile, following a strong performance in their win against the Washington Wizards, posted 5 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist in over 15 minutes off the bench against the Celtics. While these numbers do not seem significant on the surface, his productive re-emergence into the rotation has major implications for the Warriors' upcoming trade talks. Looney interrupting trade speculation. As the trade deadline looms on February 6, the current 21-21 Warriors will almost certainly need to make a move to supplement their roster if they wish to contend for a playoff spot. After acquiring Dennis Schröder from the Brooklyn Nets early in December, the Warriors are rumored to be in the hunt for a floor-spacing center to help anchor their struggling offense. With the recently elevated play of second-year center Tracy Jackson-Davis, it is clear that such a trade would almost certainly involve the departure of Looney, a 10-year veteran with the team. Just a couple weeks ago, Looney was essentially cut out of the Warriors' ever-fluctuating rotation, with Kyle Anderson and Moses Moody taking over many of the bench minutes in small ball lineups. Looney saw 4 DNPs in a 6-game stretch, and played just 50 minutes over a 9-game period. Yet with injuries to Green, Kuminga, and Anderson, Looney has been forced back into the rotation where his return to form presumably makes trading him far more complicated. Looney is shooting 59% on field goals in the month of January, well above his season-long mark of 54.3%. While Jackson-Davis has shown his ability to make explosive plays at the rim, Looney has regained his steadiness on defense and his presence on the offensive end. While trading Looney might still become a necessity given the state of this Warriors team, his recent play has at least earned him another look as someone who can continue to be a productive player going forward.